Welcome to GNV On The Move, a half-hour program showcasing the City of Gainesville's initiatives, programs, events, and people. I'm your host, Jennifer Smart. This is an exciting time for Gainesville as we strive to create a community that is equitable, sustainable, resilient, and a great place to live and experience. We are a city on the move. In this episode, we'll have a conversation with at-large City Commissioner Reina Saco. We discussed aspects of the city budget, immigration, and language equity. We'll update you on city initiatives addressing housing, pedestrian safety, gun violence prevention, and services to assist neighbors experiencing homelessness. But first, here is a spotlight on one of our many community builders, Matt Bushko. Matt is a zero waste specialist. He works in our solid waste division and is an expert when it comes to teaching about waste reduction. One of his topics is our community composting program, with its focus on food waste diversion and recycling.
Hi, my name is Mateusz Bushko, and I'm a zero waste specialist for the City of Gainesville's Department of Public Works Solid Waste Division. I've only been in my position for the last year and a half, so I feel like I'm just barely getting started. I provide zero waste education to help our neighbors, members of the business community, and even our fellow community builders better understand the available waste diversion systems and the zero waste ordinances that help us all, divert material from the landfills. I love that my duties are wide-ranging and there's always something interesting going on in our world. I provide monthly composting workshops at the city's community gardens. Fun fact, the city has 12 community gardens, so with 12 gardens, 12 months in a year, it only seemed fitting to rotate our workshops around the different locations to ensure we're making composting and waste reduction info available to all our neighbors. I manage our food waste diversion pilot program, the curbside collection program that we're piloting. It's an innovative program that has nearly 600 homes enrolled, and I provide education and support to residents who might have questions. When it comes to at-home composting, I feel like it empowers residents to manage their own kitchen scraps in a responsible way, and it turns that waste into a resource, and it's also a meaningful step towards self-sufficiency. I love being the composting guy for the city and one of the recycling guys because it means residents can call me directly with their waste reduction questions. I get to align my personal passion for waste reduction with being of service to our neighbors. I used to be an English teacher, and my wife and I spent a few years working in Vietnam. While there in search of a dairy-free coffee creamer for my wife, I learned how to make coconut cream and became absolutely obsessed with all things coconut, even going to just climbing the tree myself to getting the free coconuts and kind of staying in shape. I was born in Europe, grew up in North America, and lived in Asia. I can honestly say I've been all around the whole world, and there's no place I'd rather be than Gainesville.
Reina Saco was elected to the Gainesville City Commission in 2020. She is an attorney dedicated to assisting neighbors who are dealing with economic disadvantages, and she is particularly focused on our immigrant community. Her goal is to promote opportunity and ensure access to community resources. She serves as an at-large commissioner and is finishing her first term in office this year. Commissioner Saco, welcome to GNV On The Move.
Thanks, Jen.
So I wanted to mention first, for those who don't know, that you are the youngest woman ever elected to the Gainesville City Commission.
Yes, I am. That was, did not know that when I was running. It was after the fact that someone mentioned it.
So tell me a little bit about your background, because you have an interesting backstory that leads to how you landed here.
So I was born in Cuba as the Soviet Union collapsed. So my parents saw some of the worst, really, of struggling, and the political climate was getting worse and worse. So in 1994, during one of the last big exoduses, my family put us on a boat. During the Cuban rafter crisis, we ended up in Gitmo. There's actually a lawsuit about all of us that were in Gitmo, and so we ended up in Panama next to the Panama Canal until Clinton and Castro figured out what to do with us. And I got paroled into Miami, and I grew up in Hialeah, and grew up in a giant immigrant melting pot of Spanish.
And so do you have memories of any of this that you went through?
Yeah. I remember getting into the canvas convoy truck at Gitmo. I remember a riot that broke out at the Panama Canal, and that the U.S. Army had to use tear gas in the camp to subdue folks. So those are probably some of my earliest memories.
It's interesting because you land in Gainesville then, you have your education here.
So I didn't land here first. I went to the University of South Florida for my bachelor's, then I went to Michigan, and UF Law finally accepted me because UF undergrad didn't. But UF Law corrected that mistake and accepted me, and I just jumped into the public interest community, helping at Grace Marketplace, helping with Three Rivers, Southern Legal Counsel, any of these programs that help our most marginalized communities, and I was a volunteer for my first year of law school, and I fell in love with it.
Right, so you hear often that people who feel they have a calling or a mission, it harkens back to something they experienced in their past. So very clear line for you from your childhood, the things your family went through, and what you do today for our community.
Yeah. Any family that I've helped could have easily been my own, and I want them to have resources that my family didn't.
And language access has really been what you have stood up for time and time again in your time on the City Commission.
Yes. I often say people aren't dumb, they just don't know that language. I know doctors and lawyers who cut hair, do nails, clean floors. But if they have an emergency, they don't have the right language to call the police, to explain their issues. I was a child translator. No child should have to translate in a matter of a crime or a real issue for their family. So I wanted the city to have that opportunity, just that access for everybody else, because we, with UF, have this international pull and just invite so many people, either for conferences, for entertainment, for medicine, for all these things, and we weren't always so open. And one of the cases I helped advocate for started because we didn't really have language access, and it ended really poorly. We've come a long way. I'm glad to say we've come a long way, but the beginning was really rough, and it infuriated me enough to run for office.
You ran for office, you won, you are now concluding that four-year term. What are some of the improvements, particularly with language access and equity, that you've seen in your time?
So we have some. That's a start. We have language. So we had intermittently, and not in any real centralized way, a language line at GRU, for example. And some departments had a language line, which is to say, I call in as a person who doesn't speak English. You answer as an employee who doesn't speak my language, and you say 1 second, and you connect to a third-party vendor that says, finds that you tell them this is the language I need or I think I need. They try to speak to the customer. They kind of figure out what language it is, and you just have an interpreter there. And it's, couple cents per minute, and it's a flat fee to have it the whole year round on a contract. And so we finally have that for all of our departments that are people forward. So that's parks. That's a lot of our housing initiatives have opportunities or grants or loans that you could do to fix up your house. That wasn't accessible. If I want to sign up little Timmy to soccer so he can be more involved in the community, learn English, the American way, be actually in it. You can do that now. And before, there really wasn't a way to do that. If I call GPD or GFR, I can have that translation, not just if I'm a suspect and it's my civil right, but as a victim. If I'm being asked questions, I have that right to have that interpretation. And it helps us too, because without that interpretation, you don't really know who you're looking for. You don't know who the suspects could be. You don't know what's actually happened. So I'm very proud that language line is something that has stayed, and that we are working on, we are training on every day and getting better, but it definitely beats Easter of 2018.
And I would say also, apart from the service, you have raised the level of awareness for everybody. So as a city staffer, I know that we are working on bilingual signage for parks. We have translations for our news releases, particularly during emergencies like hurricanes. This is always front of mind now, where I think perhaps in the past it was more of an afterthought.
Oh, it definitely was an afterthought that I'd have to scream about. And then I guess if you complain about something often enough, it gets fixed. So, nothing is pointless. You just gotta keep trying.
So let me bring this up too, because when I met you, you were 2 years into your term. You introduced yourself to me by saying, you are the communications director, I am your job security. And it's
not a lie.
It was honest, right? You're very forthright, you're very outspoken. You have your opinions, you are not afraid to share them. So tell me a little bit about what you have felt you bring to the commission that really benefits your constituency?
So as a lawyer, which I am, candor is one of the things that we are hammered with day in and day out. If you are not a person of your word, no, your client's not going to trust you, opposing counsel's not going to judge. Like, why would anyone listen to you if you're not a truthful person? So I like to think that when I say I have observed this problem, or constituents have come to me with this problem, it is sincere, it is honest, because I don't exaggerate, I don't hyperbolize, I don't make things up. I very much bring something that I have observed and would state in a court that I have seen and done. And I think that candor carries me far with my colleagues, with staff. When I say, hey, X is a problem, staff will genuinely believe that, because I don't tend to cry wolf about issues.
And one issue you wanted to talk about today in particular is budget. Let's dig into that a little bit. What are some of the things you want to make clear about the way budget works?
Our budget is really sexy. Budgeting is amazing. It's the hottest thing we do at the city. I know nobody believes that, but it is, because that's why everybody gets paid. So our budget is one of the most important things we do, and I think probably what I want folks to know is it's not something that we decide in July and August and then maybe vote on it in September. It is October 1st is our fiscal year, and hopefully sometime in the last week of September we have voted on a budget. It is our singular job, by the way. My job, my singular obligation is to pass a budget. Nothing else is actually my job, but that is by law the only job I have. So our budget actually begins in November. We start planning, staff starts planning, and we go, because we only do a 1-year system now instead of a 2-year system, every year we start over. Every year we look at how many positions we have, what our revenue is, what our expenses are, and we update that throughout the year to bring it whole. But we are budgeting throughout the year, and we have so many pots of money, so many rules and strings attached with those monies that we have some freedoms and a lot of restrictions. And we do, I don't know, a dozen plus meetings on budget.
Also, you're doing research all year. You have massive mounds of paperwork that you are going through, digital files, emails, to understand the budget and get all of the little intricacies down. One thing I know that you wanted to talk about is how we have the different pots. So it's not zero sum in the sense that you're buying a tree, therefore you're not paying for affordable housing. These are different.
Yeah, so we have something in Gainesville. Not a lot of places have it, but we have it because we're a tree city. We have something called the Tree Mitigation Fund. So if you have green land, which is virgin land, no one's built on it, it's just land that has never had anything on it, you want to develop on it. If there are trees of value, so not a water oak is a garbage tree. But if you have trees of biological importance, you have to pay off a certain amount of money as a fine, really, to take it down if you can't build around it. And that can be determined by how old it is, how tall it is, how big of a tree, how much are you actually taking away from nature in our community by taking it down. So that tree goes into a pot, and then we use that pot solely for conservation, for tree plantings, for tree giveaways, so that others in the community can put more pollinator trees and fruit trees in our communities. We use that money specifically for tree-related items. So take down a tree, we now use that money to put up a tree. So I know some folks got mad when we used about $1 million to fix a block and a half and a couple trees. And a lot of folks are saying, well, you had money for that. It's like, no, well, yes, because that money can only be spent on trees. It's kind of like having a gift card to one store. It's like, yeah, I can't use this Sephora card to buy my gas. I can only use it to buy a lipstick. This is literally the only thing I can use it for. So that's one of the pots and its limitations. And we have dozens of different revenues that have similar constraints and some that have no constraints. But those without constraints, you can't, they're very small. Usually the fewer constraints, the bigger the pot. The more constraints, the smaller the pot. It's just not easy to pluck money to do something.
And the gift card is a good analogy.
I can only use it here.
So we are running out of time. Are there any closing thoughts? Now that you are finishing your time on the commission, what would you like to share?
I am trying to think of how to say goodbye. So I'm a big student and lover of history, And I have been thinking, is there a president that I admire? Is there a farewell address I would really like to emulate or echo? And I really am considering John Adams' farewell address. I'll leave you to look it up, but it's probably one of my favorites, and I think the most in line with me.
We will look it up. Thank you, Commissioner.
Of course, thank you.
After the break, we'll share a conversation with the city's Equal Opportunity Manager, Sylvia Warren, who manages education and outreach to help Gainesville's small businesses develop, grow, and seek new opportunities. But first, here is an update on steps the City of Gainesville is taking to effectively address, on a local level, some of the issues that are facing communities across the country.
There are more than 700 miles of roadway within the Gainesville city limits, with more than half maintained by the city. The remaining streets are either private roads or owned by the county or state. Together, we work with these agencies on roadway improvements to enhance safety for all users: pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists. The Gainesville Police Department remains committed to reducing gun violence in our community and ensuring the safety of all neighbors. With assistance from area law enforcement partners, Gainesville Police have seized a total of 263 firearms in the 12-month period ending in August of this year. Of them, 59 were confirmed as stolen. The city's affordable housing strategy includes building affordable homes on land previously owned by the city. New homes in the Duval community of East Gainesville have been built by Alachua Habitat for Humanity as part of the city's land donation program. Now the city is working to transform its remaining parcels of surplus property and continue to increase the supply of affordable housing in Gainesville. The city's new budget for fiscal year 2025 includes $2 million in funding to Grace Marketplace to provide shelter services for our neighbors experiencing homelessness. We believe in a compassionate and dignified approach to helping our houseless neighbors that involves multidisciplinary teams from several city departments and agencies working alongside our community partners.
Get alerted about weather emergencies by signing up for the City of Gainesville's Emergency Alert Program at alertgnv.org. This system provides you time-sensitive messages on whatever device you choose. That's alertgnv.org. Be prepared, not scared, this hurricane season.
Sylvia Warren serves as Gainesville's Equal Opportunity Manager in the Office of Equity and Inclusion. She's been with the city for almost 13 years and runs the Small Business Program. That program is designed to support the growth and development of our small business community, partly by increasing the number of jobs and contracts the city awards to small businesses. Sylvia, welcome to GNV On The Move.
Thank you for having me.
I wanted to start by giving you an opportunity to tell us why it is so very important to have a program like this.
It's really important to have a program to support local small businesses because they do contribute on a huge level to our local economy. And they're oftentimes some of the least utilized types of businesses. Sometimes they're not as competitive. Sometimes they don't have the capacity or either the buying power behind them to compete with the larger businesses. So it's our goal to help them grow, help them develop, and help them scale their businesses through our program with the city.
And it can be a complicated process to scale your business. And I think what I hear in City Hall often is that some of these smaller business owners, they have the ability, they have the motivation, the ambition, but just sort of the experience of dealing with a city is a lot to try to figure out.
It is a lot, and most small businesses aren't comfortable dealing with government agencies, and so that's part of the reason why we do a lot of our education and outreach. And one outreach event in particular that we do is called Doing Business with the City of Gainesville, where we try to get them a little more comfortable doing business with the City of Gainesville, helping them navigate the paperwork, which can be complicated, things 100 pages, 150 pages, and so we try to support them in that aspect and getting familiar with those things, understanding the processes, understanding the policies and things of that nature. So we get a pretty detailed and do some technical assistance for them to help them navigate their process with the city.
And we are a very creative, hard-working, innovative community. So I know you have a lot of great small business owners out there.
We do.
What are some of the key messages that you try to get across in your sessions?
So we try to help them understand that it's a process. You know, not every type of business or not every small business is accustomed to doing business with government agencies. And so we want them to be comfortable understanding that there are going to be barriers, there are going to be growing pains, there are going to be things that they need to learn. And so we try to offer them all the support and resources that we have. And we also partner with other agencies like the Small Business Development Center, the University of Florida, Chamber of Commerce. And so if there are some services that we can connect them with that other organizations offer, we also do that. So we have a lot of really good partners in the community, and we try to figure out what their business needs are and make sure we're servicing those needs either through our organization or a partner organization.
So you're giving them some of the mentoring, you're giving them some of these tools, and also it's a little bit of a mindset, I guess, to sort of understand that you're doing it bit by bit. It can appear daunting.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that I always stress is our department the city does about 30 outreach events per year. And that includes some of the things that we do in partnership with other agencies, but we encourage them to come out and get that education, get that training, get an understanding of how to navigate that process, learn who the players are in the different organizations, learn who the procurement representatives are, and to network. Because a lot of times I notice that the smaller businesses are they're a little more apprehensive to network and to come out to those events. So we've been encouraging those things, and we've been increasing the number of outreach events we've done in the past. We're doing more in the future, I should say, and we're encouraging them to come out and just take advantage of those benefits that they can get from attending those events.
The face-to-face meetings are so important, and I remember once being in the chamber during a city commission meeting when you were recognizing your small business mentorship program.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that and how it works, what it is.
Okay, so we have a small business mentoring program, and the intent of that program is to take what we call smaller incubating businesses. They may not necessarily be brand new businesses, but they are maybe needing some training and some education or some support in areas where they're trying to scale their business. And so what we do is we connect them with larger, more established businesses, and we allow them to offer them support through a 12-month training. And so what's interesting about the program is you don't necessarily have to pair, you meaning the business owners don't necessarily have to pair with businesses that are within their industry. So you may have a catering company that pairs with a construction-related company, but they may be asking for training in something along the lines of either accounting or bonding or things of that nature. And so the way that we do it is we accept applications somewhere towards like the first quarter of the fiscal year. And what we do is we have them go through that application process. They let us know where they need training in, and then we also look at the mentor applications, and then we try to look for similarities and pair them with companies that can offer them that type of training. And so it's very interesting. We had 24 organizations or 24 businesses that participated last year, and they graduated from the program, and there are so many success stories that came from that program. So we were very happy with the way that it turned out for fiscal year 24.
I would love to know, what are some of the successes that you see when people move forward from this program?
So one that stands out for me in particular is there is a husband and wife company, a small-owned company or small business, and they had a company that was outside of Jacksonville that mentored them, that actually participated here in the city's mentoring program. And what they did was what the mentor company did was just gave them some pointers on what they could do to try and grow their business. And they actually, we were kind of stunned, but they actually got 20 contracts during that 1-year mentorship. Just following the instructions of their trainer, having those one-on-ones, and we asked them to be creative. You can meet virtually, you can meet in person, you can meet by phone, and they did that, and they were able to increase a lot of business. So that's one of the success stories that always comes to my mind when I think of the mentoring program.
And so when is your next class? When are you enrolling more people? This sounds like a wonderful opportunity.
So we end the fiscal year September, and we start taking those applications somewhere around August. We start early, and then we close it out in December. We do our kickoff in January and start the program in January as well for another 12-month term, excuse me.
Wonderful. And as we wrap up, I think it sounds like such a friendly and an open program. Do you have words of advice for people who are out there who maybe are considering asking for help or becoming involved?
I do. Get in contact with our department. We have so many contacts in the community. We work very closely with the city's procurement department. And so we do things such as forecasting, meaning we get information from our departments to find out what's coming down the pike. If there's something 3 months down, 6 months down that's going to be coming out for bid, bid, and we actually disseminate that information to our small business owners. We offer free education and training. None of the outreach events that we conduct, that we facilitate, are for charge. The mentoring program is free of charge. The certification is free of charge. All of the technical assistance that we offer is free of charge. So we just want to encourage small business owners to be comfortable reaching out to us. No question is crazy. You know, there's no ridiculous question. We can support them in any way that we're able to. And if it's something that they need that we can offer, we'll try to make sure we connect them with the right people. So we want to encourage them, reach out to the city. We love our local small businesses. We love supporting them, and we love the work that we do. We are very responsive in our small business department, and we're just there to offer the support that they need from the city.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here and sharing this information with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
We hope you've enjoyed this glimpse of the many exciting projects going on in Gainesville. We leave you now with a look at what to expect from next month's Downtown Festival and Art Show in downtown Gainesville. This will be the 43rd anniversary for the event, which draws thousands of art lovers every year. It provides a large economic boost to our area. Join us again next month as we take another look at GNV On The Move.
So this year's Downtown Festival and Art Show is on November 9th and 10th in downtown Gainesville. We basically take over all of downtown with artist booths. There's going to be food trucks, kids activities, and a ton of performers on a bunch of different stages. This year there's going to be about 150 competitive artists. If you count all the artists, including our young artists, there's going to be about 200. Our competitive artists are juried into the show, meaning that jurors will score them, and our highest scoring artists are invited into the show, and those artists are able to compete for prizes. So the biggest thing that's new this year is we are expanding our community booths down to the Sun Center area. We're also adding a new stage called the South Stage, and then at our main stage, it's kind of a mix of dancing, there's going to be singers, and we are also having roaming performers this year as well. This year's poster is designed by Kana Handel. She's originally from Japan but moved to Gainesville. She's been our poster artist before many years ago, and her work always does so well, so we thought she'd be the perfect representation for this year's poster. After 43 years of having the Downtown Festival and Art Show, it's such a great event to bring the community together every single year. Art lovers, kids, and families alike, they can all find something that they love at the festival.